Good morning, everyone. So, welcome to day 8, and of course I'm driving around, and I am so excited because I ended up signing up for this course. It's a coaching program for ending binge eating, and I'm just so excited to learn the steps and the process of like changing mindset, changing habits primarily, and learning to trust and like really delving and diving into what does it mean to trust my intuition and on a deeper level, but also allowing what it is that we want to come forward. And it was fascinating because in yesterday's video I had spoken about this moment of realizing, I think there's just one question, and I feel like that really shifted a lot internally for me, which was, who would I be without this like label? Who would I be without this identity that I have of like, oh, there's like, I have any sort of eating disorder or any sort of feelings around food, right? What would life be like without that? If I didn't even have anything around my body image, what would my life be like? And even just asking that question, there was a tiny moment of like freedom, which resulted also in like a domino effect of like a massive emotional release that was tied to like some other childhood stuff that was going on, like a huge emotional release. And so I just think it's all really fascinating how everything's like unfolding, because there's so many things that can be related that are seemingly unrelated, right? Like if we were logically to think, okay, well, this huge emotional release had nothing to do with the way that I feel about my body and X, Y, and Z, but they could absolutely, like the energy, it's all entangled in webs that maybe we just don't understand and see, but any forms of release is releasing for the whole. And as I feel that my body and my system and my mind and my awareness is allowing me to actually perceive a life without any of this stuff, the baggage, the muck, is freedom. In and of itself, it's like those layers. It's like, okay, this layer came up and I feel free of that layer. And then there's going to be more layers to come up. And it's such a interesting process now I feel like I've already stepped into a different version of myself even before starting the program, which I've done so many programs, but I think I've always entered them with a frame of a lens, right? If we were to kind of like put on our glasses for the day, how are we viewing our lens of the world? I totally messed up this one, but it was supposed to be a lot smoother than that, but whatever. And in the past, I recognized that though when I would sign up, like the intention was always pure, and it was always to bring me to this space of like wanting more clarity, wanting to make a shift. But I was also coming from a really deep rooted that hadn't even been turned over yet, this idea of like, it's not gonna work. And so I would give up really easy. That's where I was at in my life. And when I entered even just the conversation yesterday, there was a moment of, this is going to work. because I am going to make it work, right? Because we choose the outcome that we want. And it was like I've had the same conversation with so many people signing, like doing those, like sitting in the interviews for the courses, blah, blah, blah. But yesterday, the same questions that I've answered for years stuck. And it was like, well, how are you viewing this lens? And what is your momentum? Like, you have to keep the momentum. And I was like, oh my God, like all of those things that they're asking, it's actually true, you know? So to allow myself to really open up with making that decision on the spot and the momentum of that and making the decision, like, this is going to work for me, keeping that momentum and just keeping up. Like, these are skills that we can bring into our everyday lives. What is a decision that you're making and what's the momentum of all of that? Like, just starting and just keeping it going and allowing everything to unfold. And I'm recognizing more and more that I have a lot of perfectionism that I'm also breaking down. And perfectionism can be so debilitating in the fact of, like, there's this need to control, and in that it's like wanting to know the outcome before it even happens, because there's a sense of safety in knowing the outcome, knowing that you're safe, knowing that you're going to get what you're paying for and all this stuff, or just get what your goal is. And also in today's day and age, we want, and I was very much in this mindset until very recently. So there's so many people all over the world that are like in a, I need results now. And so it's kind of this like all or nothing mentality. I definitely am totally guilty of all of that. But it would keep me not from starting things. I would start things really easy, but it was the follow through and the finishing of things that was always super difficult for me. And it was this sense of perfectionism, so needing to do it perfect. And if once it started to get hard and challenging, that means that I was imperfect. That means therefore it wasn't for me, or whatever. I mean, these go so deep and can go into so many different facets and areas, but this is just a brush over. But then there's this sense of, like, obviously what is in our subconscious, is it going to work for me? Am I just doomed forever? So what are we viewing this subconscious lens of? And then those conflicting areas within ourselves, right? But completing things, I think, because I wasn't bringing in the long term. Like, this is a lifestyle change. So that means that I'm going to mess up. I'm going to challenge myself. But with anything that you do in any facet of your life, which I'm learning so deeply, and I don't know how I didn't get this earlier, but it was like, it's gonna be a long process, and that's okay. Like, not everything has to be a long process. Like, it could come in a matter of weeks or days or hours, who knows? You could have a complete shift. Like, I've had so many shifts where it's just like I brought something into my awareness and the energy just moved, and then it was like game over. So anything is possible for anyone, just depending on where you're at in your journey and what you're allowing into your awareness. Like, are we allowing ourselves to even invite the opportunity for change into ourselves? Are we allowing, but recognizing that when we change, we also, in order to change the outcome of our life or ourselves, we physically have to change our behaviors. We actually mentally have to change our thoughts and invite new thoughts in, and we emotionally have to allow ourselves to be present within ourselves. And spiritually, I think it's very important to be able to connect all of them together and recognize that what is unfolding is a matter of everything shifting, not just one thing. So a lot, like holding space for yourself to be a whole human that encompasses all of it, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, energetically, probably more layers than I'm even aware of. And that's really fun. So I know I'm going off on a little tangent, but inviting in, this is what's really helped me a long time ago, I feel like, to get me to this point of like allowing the shift to happen, is allowing myself to question why I was responding and reacting the way I was, why I would give up so easy, but even just inviting this idea through question form, what would life be like without X, Y, and Z? Genuinely, like fully feeling it, sit with it, see it. How would I be reacting and responding? What would I look like? Like, how do I want to feel? Or even just not even, because sometimes that can be pressure, right? But it's like, how would I want my body to look? How would I want myself to show up? Like, what outfits do I want to wear? And just start to look into like fashion. What do I want my days to be like? What kind of self-care do I want to keep up on regularly? Like, why do I want to feel this way? Have I ever felt this way before? And what was it about those moments that I felt the best? Like, why do I want to feel that way again? And what would it be like to even want to shift that, you know? So it's just like getting really curious and verbally saying out loud, like, what would life be like? What would it feel like to even want to do these things? Even if you're in a place where it's like, I don't really want to be an astronaut, but what if I did want to be an astronaut? Like, what would it feel like to want to be an astronaut? You know, just inviting in expansion. And finally, when we change anything, when we're in the middle of like shifting and really making effort and taking action towards achieving anything that we want, we're going to be met with resistance always. Whenever we're changing anything, because the brain, the subconscious, it just works on patterns and repetition. And so we're essentially just retraining the system. So when we're training the system to go left instead of right, it's going to have the urge to go right. So when we're veering it left, it's going to feel uncomfortable. And it's going to start to bring, and it works on all the levels, in the body, in the emotions, in the mind. It's going to bring up so much resistance. Like, this isn't going to work. Like, you are so far in debt. Look at what you're doing. Look at what happened last time. And your body's physically going to be rebelling. And that's one thing that I've been allowing. It's really interesting because whenever I feel discomfort now, I purposefully allow myself to like take a moment to really sit in that discomfort. It's almost like I am in this moment, and it's having discernment of like, okay, I know that I'm making changes, therefore I expect discomfort to happen, and meeting that discomfort with, I knew that you were going to show up. I was expecting you. I'm grateful to you. And I'm not changing things because of you. But I'm going to witness you as the discomfort, right? So mentally, and even just like calling out the chatter. And I've found that I'm beginning, like, for me, I've invested in something, and for me it's great sometimes to just like not even mention it to people. You know, sometimes we want that support from the community, and this is having discernment too. But it's recognizing, okay, can I just do something, invest in myself, believe in myself, and just keep it for me, where I'm not having any sort of output or input from the outside, because everybody's going to have their opinion. And especially with your own transitioning, like rebellion coming up, like, no, we can't change. Sometimes it's best that we don't invite other stuff in. And that is also for you to know your discernment of like, is this good for me? That I feel drawn to ask this person. That's perfect. Like following your intuition to knowing like what to keep to yourself and what to outsource. Like that is totally to you. But in my own experience right now, what I'm going through, and I find it really fascinating, is though I have such a great community of resources of people who are like always thinking of me with love and like wanting the best for me, even those little comments that are coming from a place of love and what they think is best for me can kind of veer off, you know, like it can feed that part of me sometimes that's feeling like it needs to rebel, feeling like it needs to be calling the shots, and it's that old programming. So this time around, I just had like a really big call to be like, you know what? This is for you. Like, you don't have to get anyone else involved. You don't have to go over, did I make the right decision? Did I not? And just sit with the decision that you made and be stoked about it and trust that it's going to work, because I'm making the decision that it's going to work. Therefore, I'm going to put in the effort every single day and sit with my discomfort and recognize that it's just my body shifting and changing and allowing myself to expand and become this version of me that I am ready to become now. So expect things to come up, expect discomfort, expect those conversations in the mind that are going to try to off-put you. And sometimes it's best just to sit with yourself and just keep looking forward. Just keep looking forward and say, you know what? I made this decision and I'm going to follow it through. And whatever I gain from it is bringing me closer to what I want. And that's just it. Like setting expectations a little bit low for yourself. So that way you're actually taking action and relieving yourself of the perfectionist inside that needs to achieve like this whole laundry list of things, and instead just be open. Like, what can I learn from today's session? What can I bring in from this session into my day to day? Or like when you have something coming up, like how would I coach myself? Like if I have a question and I had a coach, what would my coach say? And that was a theme actually in the video yesterday, and I was like, that's so wonderful. Like that's fantastic to teach people how to coach themselves, and I just love it. So practicing setting my standards a lot lower than I have before, and inviting like the excitement of, I'm just so excited to learn as much as I can in this go around. It's like reading a book. You read it once and you collect all these like goodies. But then if you read it again, you're going to collect more that you missed. And if you read it again, you're going to collect what you missed. So just keep doing that practice. But anyway, so today is wonderful. I'm so excited. It's day 8 and I'm going strong. I am doing better and better each day about water. I started off pretty strong and went down a little bit, but bringing myself back up and really supporting the changes that are happening in my body, because there's a lot that's been shifting, and my physical symptoms. Just make sure that you are supporting changes in your body. Self-care is hugely important, and recognizing that it just is your body shifting, and it's your body allowing, and it's your body making new neural pathways and new habits that are supportive to you. So trusting the process and I love you all. Stay 8. It's going strong. It's going to be a beautiful day ahead of me. I'm so, so excited. So, all right. Love you guys. Bye.